Yeah, well, which brings us probably to I loved we were talking the other day as we were going through this, and you said you started to view all these different stages of growth like a tornado. So
Yeah.
can you dive further into that? Because I did some math on this, and it was kind of cool, and I was really thinking, I love the analogy.
Well, and it's less of the destructive tornado and more of the funnel cloud that it is, right? And to me, it was just an interesting concept to think about because in the talent value stream, you're going around and around, right? You're planning, you're doing your recruit to hire, you're onboarding, you're doing your retention, your training, your development, your offboarding, and that could be offboarding to an internal position, it could be offboarding to outside the company, but you start with this little spiral, right? This little cyclical journey that you're going on in developing your people. And as the organizations get bigger, right, there's more things that you're doing. So the cycle may take a little longer. The cycle's going to be a little bit bigger. And then as the organization moves up and moves bigger, now you've got the ready to scale companies who are maybe halfway up the funnel, but they're also seeing that they have the little funnel at the bottom happening at a project level, happening at a regional office level, happening at a new geographic location level or a new market they're going into level. So you start to see where we go from the small pieces of the organization to the bigger pieces of the organization, but it doesn't mean the smaller pieces are left behind. Then you get to the level 6 contractors, and they are now, the big pieces of their talent value stream are getting bigger and bigger to include with planning. It might include, are we going to hire an internal lobbyist? Just way bigger things that are adding lines to their planning. So they're thinking at it at a massive level. Their regional offices are thinking at it as a more kind of their own regional level. The projects are thinking about it at their own level, and you may have all of these talent value streams happening all at the same time. So it's less about the mass destruction that happens with the funnel cloud and more about just what the spiraling as companies get bigger, that it gets bigger at the top, but the bottom does not go away, right? It just doesn't go away. It continues to just get taller and wider at the top.
Yeah, so here's what was kind of interesting as I was thinking about this because I loved your analogy, and when you said it, I was like, okay, and I did what I do, which is like go do some math on it because I'm an ops person. We'll talk about how you've converted me from an operationally only minded up a few levels, but we'll set that one aside for the minute. So the base of a tornado is about, or the top of the tornado is about 10 times as big as the base of the tornado. The winds at the base of the tornado go, and this varies, but are about twice as fast.
Yep.
They're give or take 200 miles an hour versus the top of the tornado is 100 miles an hour. 100-mile-an-hour wind still pretty righteous. That you're shutting down a job site for sure. And but what that means with those two variables of like 10 times the size at the top versus the base and the wind being twice as fast is that the cycle is it goes around 20 times at the base before it goes around one
Uh,
time at the top. And so then when we think about, like our example on the planning, when you're at that field level, you're really thinking forward at max, really 90-ish days because you got some long lead items, but you were living in the week and in the month. You were living right there. You need people to go build your project right here, right
yep.
now. And so, but that, now you extend that out, that 1 quarter time horizon, you extend it out 20 times, that 6 plus, now you're at that 5 year time horizon. So now when you're sitting there talking about, well, this is how many project managers we need, 5 years from now, realize that you have like an operations manager down here at this level near the base of the tornado going, yeah, and that job we just won yesterday, I need a project manager right here, right now, today. Why are you yucky to yucks talking about this up there on the sixth floor, you idiot? And this gets down to, the floors and the ceilings that you were talking about. And that's where some of the complexity lies, is not understanding that. Like when I'm at that lower, floor, things are moving quicker. I should be focused on
Right.
that narrow time span. I should be focused on what jobs did I win, what's my current backlog look like over the next 6 months, what project managers do I need in place right now, how am I going to allocate resources and everything, and that's where I'm at. So then the conflict comes when you start hearing this like talk about the 5-year college recruitment plan and hiring project engineer. Like, I don't need any green people today. It's making it worse. You know,
Right, that's right.
and so it's this constant tension up and down as you go to grow, and that tension will, really starts to show by the time you get to stage 3, 4,
Mhm.
5, and 6. And it's like, because you're never letting go of the bottom of the tornado. That's always there. We're building project, we're getting people in, and we're managing them. It's just that more and more gets added to the organization as you grow.
Yep.
So I loved your analogy. It was cool doing the math. So let's wrap up with a couple more things. Coming back to the contractor business model, right from before, and we talked about this a lot in the last series. So no need to go in any further into that. Important to know that from a leadership standpoint, I think this is the point that we want to touch on right here. Is from a leadership standpoint, this is what changes the most. The craft aspect doesn't change. An electrician is an electrician, an operator is an operator, and whether they're working at a company that's got 5 employees or 5,000 employees, that level of work is not necessarily changing that much. It's all of the supporting operations and the management structures around that start to go change pretty dramatically. And so there's a couple good resources. One of them is Marshall Goldsmith, who studied this, and it's like as you progress through different levels of leadership, the book is appropriately called "What Got You Here Won't Get You
Yep.
There." So this is a little bit of the floors and ceilings thing, and we'll come back to that one in a minute. But to kind of wrap this up, the and my evolution and development, I'm an ops person. I came up through the field and through the craft and through all of this stack of operational leadership. So, and what ultimately the company, the strategic decisions are made at the top of where do we play, how do we win. Those are the strategic choices. Operations, and operations defined as everything from estimating to all the supporting operations, like all operational aspects of the company, including the project management and field management. They're there to build the projects and execute the strategies that are in alignment with those strategies. Organizational development is really ensuring that the talent never constrains operational excellence, and that's the talent value stream. That's what we just talked about. And so interestingly, I was being the ops person. I'm like, it's all about ops. It's about procedures. It's about, I can't help myself doing the math. And then you start to back up and look at it. My evolution of learning is like, okay, strategy definitely comes into play, because you can be an operationally excellent horseshoe manufacturer in the time of Henry Ford, and that's not going to work out so good for you.
Right.
No matter how operationally excellent you are, your business will decline just because the market is changing. So strategy is about choosing the market where you have the best chance of winning given the capabilities that you have. So then I'm like, I think by the time you and I met, what's it been, half dozen years ago now? Or it's
Yeah.
been a while.
Yep.
It's been an awesome journey, uh, and I love that. I've always been heavy in focusing on talent, just in terms of developing talent, like as a manager, it's just how I think about it. And I love that gleam and that look in your eye and everything. And I remember us getting into this like little kind of argument about like, is it operational excellence or is it strategy? What is it? And you kept talking about, it's organizational development. It's all organizational development. And you're like, that's just how I see it. And I'm like, how you see it so wrong. I'm like, how am I going to help you? and, and then I remember that, yeah, when you finally did the mic drop moment, you're like, who comes up with the strategy? And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess if you come up with the wrong strategy, that's a people thing, and therefore it's an organizational development thing. And so that's where I had always been thinking heavily about organizational development as feeding talent to operations so that operations can go, execute the projects in alignment with the strategy. What you introduced, to, and we work a lot on this. This is just my evolution. Is okay. There's really, as companies grow, probably as you're passing stage 5 and getting into stage 6, possibly even at stage 4, if you say exit through an ESOP
Mhm.
or something like that, or you're really proactive, you start to put together some semblance of a board and a
Right.
governance structure, and that board's primary value is heavily on strategic choices and heavily on some broader policies that keep everybody in line and ultimately keeping the CEO in line because the CEO is there then to operate the business and execute everything, which then comes to kind of the big org dev of ensuring that the right talent and talent pipelines in place for for the board making the right strategic choices, succession and resiliency in all economic conditions, because sometimes like you can make a choice for efficiency in the short term, and short term being 1 to 3 years, and extract a lot of profit out of the business and a lot of cash out of the business. However, that can leave you less than resilient for future economic storms. And so really, like at stage 6 plus, it's really all about
Right.
sustainability. And so it's not about optimizing just in the short term. You're not trying to not optimize where you can, but you are trying to balance that out with resiliency for the long term. So anyway, so thank you, Sue, for my continuing evolution just in my thinking and development. So anything else to say besides you're welcome, or
Actually, yeah, that was going to be you're welcome. So there you go.
yeah, and I think you have a board meeting right after this, so let's go wrap up the next couple of. This is perfect timing, so let's go wrap up the next couple of things and go with it. We're going to touch this a lot more in the
Right.
future when it comes to governance and the broader organizational development. And just because this is a 6 plus type of thing where you're finally going to have that working, it meant you started to work on it probably in between stages 4 and 5. You
Yeah.
had to be thinking about it and working on it. Matter of fact, I've got a meeting later on this morning with a company. It's right in between stage 4 and 5, and he is thinking. The leader is thinking about this aspect right now. We won't be there. We've already talked about it. We won't be there for several years until we even start to get things in place. But the fact that we're thinking about it now, we're in the planning
Right.
stage.